Did you know that 93% of all communication is not spoken through words, but is spoken through the body, which leaves only 7% verbal? I'm Sona Kim, America's Face of Dating, and today I'm going to be giving you ways to use your body that are going to make you look more attractive instantly. We have a little Q&A from a viewer, and he asks, I keep hearing about alpha male body language, dominant body language that turns around, or how your body shows others how you feel about yourself. Can you give detail? Chris. So Chris, the brain, it works like a computer. If you type something into the search bar, then answers pop up, and this is what my brain has really inferred about you from this question, is that you probably feel in the club, or when you're going for the business deal, when you're talking to hot girls, you probably feel very uncomfortable or unconfident with what you're going to say next. And let me give you some value here is that, let me get the content right here. So here it is. I found this study. I heard it from Tony Robbins, and I looked it up, and it was actually true. And it's by the University of Cambridge, and they took 20 clinically depressed people, like seriously fucking depressed, and they cured about 90% of their depression almost instantly. And you might be like, how the hell did they do that? And this is how they do it, is that they took these 20 clinically depressed people, they're like, can we do this test on you? And they're like, sure. And they took them and they had them look into a mirror. Look into a mirror simply, and they had them smile as big as they possibly can, like this. It's like as big as I can possibly smile. They had them sit there and they had them smile in the mirror for about, I think it's like 30 seconds or a minute straight. And while they're sitting there, they're like, okay, while you're smiling, smile as big as you possibly can. And while you're smiling, feel depressed. And 90% of them said, I don't feel depressed. I can't feel depressed. And so, according to this study, is that let me put this over here. Your mind and your body are connected, which means that if you feel uncomfortable talking to hot girls, or you feel uncomfortable in your body, let's say talking to hot girls, then it probably means that you're moving your body in ways that are making you feel unconfident. And that's what they found with the depressed people, is that the depressed people, they're moving their bodies, like hunching their shoulders, hunched over. Imagine, if I said, imagine the most depressed person that you could possibly see. What would you see in your head? You'd probably see someone who's hunched over, who's breathing shallow, who's looking at the ground probably. And you see that they're moving their bodies in ways that are making them depressed. And so when you're talking to a hot girl and you feel like you don't know what to say next, you feel uncomfortable or feel unconfident, it's probably because you are positioning or moving your body in a way that is making you feel like that. And so since the mind and body are connected, this is what happens from here. This is the game that happens, is that when your body's moving in that way, then your mind, it starts having these unconfident thought loops then, because the mind and the body are connected, right? So when your body's moving uncomfortable, then your mind's like always moving unconfidently, which means that I'm probably lower value in the situation, which means I'm gonna have lower value thought loops. You following me? And so what you need to do is that when you move your body in more confident ways, then your mind's gonna have more confident thought loops. But when you're not, this is what happens. So your body's moving in unconfident ways, you start having unconfident thought loops, and then your body gets more unconfident, more uncomfortable, then your mind gets more unconfident, uncomfortable thought loops. And it keeps going down and down and down, spiraling out of control until you eventually crash, lose the hot girl, lose the business deal. And so what you need to do is you need to move your body in different ways that make you feel more confident, calmer, smoother. And I want to share with you 5 tips to how to actually do that. So secret number 1 is to remove every single fidgety and unnecessary movement. This includes cracking your knuckles, playing with stuff on your shirt or darting your eyes, etc. Everything in between that, everything that's an unnecessary movement. And really, when I was in the club promoting world, my mentor once shared with me, he said, really, every happiness, peace, and comfort, they really come more from what you cut out and remove from your life versus what you add to it. And let me really show you a story about how I discovered high status, high value body language. Was when I was in 2nd grade, and this Italian boy, his name was His name was Franco Natoli. I still remember it to this day. He moved into my second grade class. If you know anything about me, you know that I was never the guy that really had the girls giggling about him or talking about him. And so you can imagine that when this olive-skinned, jet black-haired Italian boy moved into my class and all these girls started crushing on him, they had the hard eyes for him, I was getting a little fucking jealous. Until I had a switch in perspective. I was like, you know what? Instead of being jealous, analyze him. What's he doing? But then, in 7 days, literally in like a week, all the girls in the school had the biggest crush on him. And then suddenly, it just vanished like a dream upon awakening. None of them had a crush on him in a matter of a week. That's how devastating this is, because once I started analyzing him, I realized I had picked up on some nervous, unnecessary habits that he had when he was talking to these cute girls. And so one of these habits, I remember it to this day, is that he was talking to this cute girl. And he was doing this right here. He was like, and I was like, what the hell is that? It was happening like every 30 or 45 seconds. And then I noticed this too. He started picking at his nails while he's talking to these girls. And he's like doing the fireball jutsu over here, right? He's like moving his hands so fast. And I was like, holy shit. It was like I saw the Matrix, because I noticed that every single girl when talking to him, they were just like, how do I get out of here? Like, this is making me so uncomfortable. And it's because you need to remove all unnecessary movements, or else women are going to pick up on that. Because women, they get turned off when they unglue a man, when their presence causes a man to melt right in front of them before their eyes. And so these cute girls' presence, it was causing all these nervous habits to come out of his body, like twitching and moving his hands and darting his eyes, all these unnecessary movements. And so what does that tell a woman? What does it tell a woman when you can't even control your own body? Is that it tells her that she not only glues you, that you can't be present in the moment, but when life comes and tries to knock you down, tries to knock you off your purpose, is that you're going to let it, because you let a single woman's presence unglue you in that environment. And so what that shows her is that if you're not in control of your own body, how are you going to be able to protect her? If you can't even get your life in order, if you're all over the place in your movements and they're so unnecessary, what does that say about you and your life? It says that you have all these unnecessary, your life is all over the place, and a woman's not going to feel turned on from that, because if you can't control yourself, you'll never be able to take care of her. And so make sure to cut out all unnecessary movements when you're talking to people in your body. Be calm, be slow, which is going to move us on to tip number 2. Body language secret number 2 is to slow down. I was at this party the other day talking to this grown man in his 40s or 50s. He was actually a pretty good looking dude. He worked out, he was pretty built. But he did this one thing that showed that he had some low status or some unconfident thought that were going through his head. And that was this one girl, she accidentally flipped off a switch in the living room, turned off the lights, turned them back on for a second, and he goes like this. He goes, and I'm just sitting here staring. I'm just like, dude, calm down. It was a light. Jesus. But it's like, this guy's in his 40s and 50s and he's still not be able to have control over his body. He has these jumpy, fidgety, jolty movements, and it makes people around you feel very, very uncomfortable. And so you may have heard when a woman will tell a man, slow down. She's not necessarily talking about his movements. She's more so talking about the fact that he's trying to make progress on her when her feelings haven't developed yet. So she's like, well, slow down, dude. But there's this thing called the state transfer. And what the state transfer is that the mindset you really have, so if you're feeling anxiety or stress in that moment, it tends to rub off on the people that you hang around, and they start to get the same feeling. And so when you're hanging around a girl that you like and you have anxiety and stress, then she starts to feel that discomfort within you. And so whatever move you try to make on her romantically in that moment, she's not going to be down with it, because you have rubbed off on her, and now she feels stress and anxiety, and she doesn't want to have romance when she's feeling that. She's not thinking about romance with that. And so what I tell some of my clients is that you need to imagine yourself as if you're underwater, right? Imagine like yourself underwater, your hair is flowing, the blue, the calmness. You can't even hear anything underwater. And so you try to move around fast, and it's going very, very slow. And so when you're reaching for a drink, move it, act as if you're underwater, move it very slowly, grab it when you turn your head, move it slowly. You know, the people is people, if you've ever been in class and you come in late to class like I usually do or have, then you walk in and everyone in the class, what do? They go like this. As soon as you open the door. And like, what does that show people? Is that it shows you that you're not confident, you're not comfortable in your body. It's like everything is just having this effect on you. It's throwing you off your center, making you react. And a high value man doesn't react to his environment. The environment reacts to him. Remember that. So slow down your movements by about half. Body language secret number 3 is what you do with your hands and your arms. So there are exceptions to everything in attraction and dating. For example, a lot of coaches will tell you to like never cross your arms because that's going to make you feel like make it seem like you're very, very uncomfortable in that environment. But you know, crossing your arms could actually be a very, very great disqualifier in the fact that you could be like, tell me something interesting about you. And you lean back, because what that does is like the boss, right? The boss will ask you in a job interview, tell me why I should give you this job, right? And so you lean back and cross your arms, you're like, tell me something interesting about you. Because it makes her chase, it makes her qualify herself to you in that moment. And subconsciously, it puts the frame of that conversation as if you're higher value than her, makes her chase you. But a lot of the times also, crossing your arms or folding your arms can be a bad thing. I heard in the book Love Signals that if you show like the back of your hand when you're talking to her, if you show the back of your hand, then that tends to signal to that other person that you could be a threat or you could be trying to hide something or manipulate, because what you do in a fight, you show the back of your hand when you're about to hit somebody or the back of your hand when you're making a fist at somebody. So make sure that you keep your palms usually facing towards them. You're talking to them, you use your hands, but don't be too much. Don't be over dramatic with your hands and your arms, because too much of anything, again, can be a bad thing. So find the right balance for your arms and your hands. So body language secret number 4 is open body language versus closed body language. And so I know we just talked about folding arms in the back of our hands, but a lot of people don't know what that symbolizes. If you're in conversation and somebody tends to fold their arms, it means they're very, very uncomfortable. But do we know why we fold our arms when we're uncomfortable? A lot of people don't. And that's the lizard part of our brain, the cold-blooded, instinctual part of our brain. It symbolizes all fear it feels. So if you're talking to a hot girl, imagine this. If you're talking to a hot girl and you're feeling fear in your brain, then the brain symbolizes that fear as if I could potentially die in this situation. It doesn't distinct all levels of fear, just sees fear, I could die. That's the instinctual part of our brain. And so what does that do? What does the natural instinct in us do when we feel that fear? Is that we tend to cover our most vulnerable spot, which is where our stomach is, where our guts are, because there's no bones that protects this area down here. And so we tend to cover that area very instinctually when we feel that fear, because we're associating that fear with death. The mind and the body are connected. And there's actually studies that have been done where if you move your body in certain ways, there's actually chemicals and hormones that are released into the bloodstream. For example, there's the Superman pose. If you're in a boss in his seat, he kicks his legs up on the desk, puts his arms behind his head, then it actually, if you sit in that position for a minute, it actually boosts your testosterone by 33%. And that's because when the body is moving in certain ways, then chemicals are released into the bloodstream. Hormones are released into the bloodstream. And actually there's been studies on heart transplants. And that's when a man receives this heart transplant. A lot of this actually happens very commonly. When a person receives a heart, then they will actually start to adopt the feelings, the emotions, the reactions of the person who donated the heart from before. And that's very, very fascinating study. But onto open body language is that when you go into a nightclub or when you're talking to a girl, when you're sitting down, make sure that your legs are spread apart. I heard that you should never keep, like, the farther your joints are from each other, for example, like your wrists and your knees, the better, because it releases that chemical into your bloodstream that you're confident, that you're comfortable. And so when you're sitting down in a nightclub, make sure that your legs are pretty spread. You're bringing attention to your crotch area. Make sure that you probably take one arm and sling it over the back of the sofa behind you. So you really want to use your body to its full capacity, and make sure your body feels like it's very, very comfortable, because that's going to make the confident thought loops come through your head. It's going to make you virtually invincible in the clubs. The 5th and final body language secret is to remain unaffected. So low value, low confidence individuals, they let their environment, they let externalities throw them off of their center, lets them take over their bodies and totally expose them for who they are. But high value people with a lot of confidence, they never let externalities influence how they feel internally. It doesn't matter the amount of people that are in the room, it doesn't matter the noise level, the temperature, the brightness, it's irrelevant. Because you never let the environment take control of your centeredness and throw you off. Esther Sternberg, the professor of medicine at the University of Arizona, said that slow and deep breathing actually will negate the fight or flight response. And a lot of people have that in the clubs. They have the fight or flight response going, and you can never operate at peak performance if you're not in a calm and collected state of mind. And it's also, when you're in the fight or flight state, it's actually difficult to get your thing up during sex. And so make sure when you're in the club or any environment really, you never let it affect how you feel internally. Of course, read the shirt, take it easy, breathe, be cool, be calm and collected, and never let any pressure, externality influence how you feel in here. And of course, I couldn't leave you hanging. One last bonus tip for body language secrets is that when you walk into a room, when you walk into the club, walk in like you own that place. Walk in with a smile on your face. Never forget to smile, because there's always that one person in the club who's sitting there on their phone, like with that grumpy look on their face, like trying to be cool. He's like, if I'm cool, then I'm gonna get the girls. If I'm cool, right? Yeah, no. You walk in, you smile, you own that place. Because what this shows is that when you're having fun, when you have a smile on your face, a genuine smile, this shows other people that, wow, that guy must be a fun person to be around. He must love his life. And it makes people around you gravitate to you. And so whether or not you're trying to attract the hot girls into your life or just universally attract cool people in general, you have to be cool yourself. And so walk in, smile, own that place, and you're gonna kill it in the nightclub or wherever you go. If you need help with dating skills, attraction skills, business life, personal life, and the quickest way to get a hold of me is to go to my website and book a paid coaching session with yours truly. Or you can also jump into my book, Waking the Core of Man, where I give you hundreds of body language secrets, techniques to use to improve the quality of your dating life and the quality of the women that you're dating currently. I'm Sona Kim, America's Face of Dating, and I'll see you next time.